So, one of the best features of Prequel is the ability to randomize and kind of play with block layouts without a manual lift. So, I'm going to show you how you can randomize your starter quilt in Prequel. So you can see that we've already begun with the starter quilt, which did have a bit of a randomization element to it. It had blocks randomly laid out in the quilt and also randomly rotated to give you a starting point. But should you want to randomize in your own way, this is where you would do it. You can see here that there are 5 blocks, and right now they all have equal weight to them. They all have 2 hearts, meaning that when we select all the cells and we randomly place the blocks into the quilt, they're all going to be relatively equal. Now, they might not be exactly equal, but overall, you're going to feel like you have the same number of each block in the quilt. There are some ways to do absolute numbers, but this one is focusing on relative. Now, if I were to reduce it to 1 heart, it's actually going to ignore this block. So when I click on the apply blocks randomly, it's going to give me layouts that have 0 of this black and sand block. I'm actually going to want some of them to show up, although not as many as these other warm tone blocks. So relatively, those 4 blocks are going to be much more favored than the black and sand blocks. And so when I randomly place them in there, there's going to be much fewer of that black and sand block than the warm toned ones, as we can see here. So when we deselect it, we have a better view of what that looks like. We can see that there's a lot of the yellow or the butterscotch, and you can actually see absolute numbers here. So you can see that there's much more of the first and the fourth block, and those are almost equal, where the 2 middle ones are a little fewer, and the black and sand is even fewer with only 2 times. So when we select all the blocks and then hit the rotate button, it will also randomly rotate the orientation of the block to give it a bit more of a dynamic movement to it as well. You can manually rotate it because sometimes you really like overall what it is, but you want to kind of override some of the blocks. You can always select it and then rotate just that block itself. Looking forward to seeing what everybody does. Thanks. Bye.